energy efficiency works with that. And I said that because I don't want you to think that what my two previous presenters have shared with you, it's not a flash in the pan. This is the future. This means things to come. So one of the things we've been working on since last year, and this is one of the things that has placed South Carolina in the vanguard in terms of renewables like solar, is that there is something called the South Carolina Energy Council that is headed by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. It consists of the Office of Regulatory Services, the Office of Energy, DHEC, universities, every electric utility, every electric cooperative in the state of South Carolina. And we've been working with them for over a year now, not officially. Don't nobody go back and say they've been working on the state plan, because we have our brothers and sisters on the other side of the aisle who said we shouldn't be doing that. But after Monday, we can start working on putting together and implementing a state plan. Okay, so a lot of people, and just like Obamacare, there's going to be a lot of flack, there's going to be a lot of kickback, there's going to be litigation, you're going to have people making speeches. But in the end, just like the Affordable Care Act, it is going to happen. It's going to happen in one form or another. So what we do, we have a proposal before Duke. We're in conversation with SC, E&G. I'm definitely going to talk with him. And Soalr, South Carolina, and Smart Power, we are finalizing an agreement with them. And this is important for several reasons. Most of the facilities that pollute, that emit toxic gases, are located in or near low income and people of color. They are called residential proximity communities by EPA and by DHEC. These communities have been impacted negatively for decades. Okay, not only in terms of pollution with air and water, but if you're African American and you live near one of these plants, you have your chances of having a respiratory problem like asthma is twice as high, and you are 4 times as likely to die. And so one of the things we've been working on with EPA, and we've met with officials from EPA, particularly with the Office of Environmental Justice. We push very, very hard, and we're looking next week to make sure that environmental justice, that low-income and people of color communities are included in all of these plans, and that diversified programs are put in effect so that if you can't afford to buy your panel, then you should be able to lease your panel. Yeah. So for example, in our conversation with Duke, Duke is getting ready to roll out something called a community shared solar program, where you share your panels. And they are proposing that you have a one-time $250 fee in order to enter the program. And we quickly told them, $250 is out of reach for a lot of people. I don't care what color you are. You know, if my electric bill is $220, you tell me I need $250. In addition to that, guess what? That's not going to happen. So we talked with them about, can we string that out over time, over a year, 2 years, 3 years. So we want you to realize this is the future. In our discussions, we talked about the fact that installers need to come from the community. That when manufacturing comes, manufacturers need to think about being located in our communities. And we need to look at alternatives, sales, educational awareness campaigns, all of these things that are necessary so that people understand what's going on. Because a lot of this is behaviorally driven, okay? We have to help folks realize, as the young people say, we have to help them to not get it twisted.
Yeah.
And realize that when you look at your energy bill and it went down $50, that doesn't mean that you could keep the TV on all night or crank up the heat. And so, so we're working very hard at making sure that we can refer people to the best program for them. Because the NAACP, Martin Luther King Jr., a lot of folks who are with us and before us have worked hard for justice and equality. But you want to know something? There's a new word. It's not just about justice and equality anymore. It's about equity. Because equity means that I need a solution that fits me and my community and my needs. Equity means that just because we have 2 apples, if I give an apple to you and I get an apple and you ate 30 minutes ago and I haven't eaten in 3 months, that's not equal. Right? So equity means that we're looking for situations and environmental solutions that fit the needs of community and people best. So we encourage you, there's no obligation. Our partner Soalr, South Carolina has forms outside. There's no obligation to buy, but we want you to explore your options before you make a decision. Go out, fill out the referral form. We're putting also, we have a table out there. One of our partners, New Alpha CDC, we're putting together a statewide program, and it's called CORE. Not like the old CORE, Civil Rights Group, but CORE, Communities Organized for Renewables and Energy Efficiency. There's no fee for membership. You want your organizations, your businesses, your nonprofits, all of them to join CORE because there's power in numbers, and it's easier to have our voices heard when we're all united. So we want to move forward. We want to transform our world. We don't need any more division, no more digital divides, no future energy divide, but a better world for all of us. Thank you very much. Questions, I guess, right?
Right, okay, I have several questions. I know everybody didn't write their questions down, but we have a couple. And the first question is...
And hold up before you do it. And if you have a question, you've got time to write it, and we'll pick it up and get it to Mr. Carter while he's doing those.
All right, first question is, how does solar compare to...
Can't hear you. Speak up a little bit. Yes.
How does solar compare to nuclear energy? Future pros and cons. Solar energy compared to nuclear energy.
Well, I think the one thing I would say about a pro in terms of solar versus nuclear is it's on your rooftop, at least with our products. So you're using your panels. You know, you don't have to, you know, if you're not at home, let's say you're on vacation, your panels are producing, it's going back to the grid, but it doesn't go all the way back to the grid usually. It goes to your neighbor. So people right there where you are benefiting. And you also can't lease nuclear. You can't, you know, get a loan to do nuclear. So you can really end up lowering your rates, and it's because of what you do rather than what a decision that the utility makes to incorporate more nuclear in their portfolio.
Can I address that too? Okay, also in terms of nuclear, with our energy coalition, we try to, you know, play well together because we want benefits for everyone. But I'm not saying anything I haven't said to my colleagues who produce nuclear energy. I don't really call that clean energy until you can tell me what you're going to do with the nuclear waste, and we don't have a demand. That's one. But we have $10 billion committed to nuclear in South Carolina. We can't eat that money, but what we can do is show that solar and other renewable forms of generating energy works better. The people want it more, and then when their licenses expire, if you speak up, they don't have to be renewed.
All right, very good. The next question is for Tyson. This is, was the 236 legislation the primary driver for Sunrun's decision to enter the South Carolina market, or were there other strategic factors?
Well, I think it was the primary driving factor. Whenever a lot of the bigger solar companies look at coming into a market, we look at factors like, is there a net metering policy? We look at factors like how much property tax, or is there a property tax exemption on solar panels, so that if you put your panel up, you don't get your property tax go up, the bill will go up. We look at things like, is there a third-party leasing bill, which basically says, so the way leasing works is we own the panels, we take care of the panels, and we guarantee a certain amount of production on the panels. So there has to be legislation that allows Sunrun, Solar City is another big company, and there's several big companies that do solar leasing. There has to be legislation that allows us to do that so that we're not categorized as a utility in the state. And so Act 236 took care of two of those points, and that was the net metering, third-party leasing. Still working on getting everybody a property tax exemption so that we can lower the cost of the lease or the overall product if you're going to pay with cash.
All right. Our next question says, if one owns unused farmland, is there a plan to create a solar farm, and how can businesses be funded? Unused farmland.
There is, I know that some people are looking into that and say, if you can get kind of a 30-year rental agreement for a company to come in and put solar ground-mounted systems on a piece of property. Sometimes, I have heard of it paying more than actually running it out to farmers. But we need food too, to run it out to farmers. But if you wanted to think about solar energy, feel free to take my card and send me an email. There's a couple people on the Solar Council board who do have connections with that.
All right, the next question, well, we're moving right on.
Everyone's
hungry.
We're hungry, that's what it is. All right, the next question is, do your companies have a program in place that will help senior citizens winterize their homes? If so, who can they contact?
Well, I also work with a group called the Soalr legislators, and we put together resolutions once a year, representatives from all 46 counties. And so it did not go through this year, but we tried to do a resolution that after the resolution, we go and we present them to our state legislators, and from there, they're supposed to work on putting together legislation. So one of the resolutions that I and one of my colleagues put together would create subsidies to help senior citizens pay to get solar. And so it didn't go through this year, but that's because a lot of people, I believe, didn't know how much solar activity was being ramped up in the state. So hopefully next year we'll be able to get that before the legislature.
This isn't so much on winterization, but just an observation based off what Sunrun's seen in other states, and that's that a lot of senior citizens do like solar better than sticking with utility, because we have a predictable, you pay the same thing every month, and so senior citizens know how much to budget for monthly power bills. Instead of, like July, my power went way up because I'm using a lot of AC. But in other months it's down. April, May, you don't use quite as much as July and August in South Carolina. So it's just more predictable. It's more predictable because you pay the one price.
Very good. The next question is, how will a church or a person also access a solar program if your utility company is not located in your area? And that's the Duke and the SEG, I guess, so some of you will run it.
Right. So there is the buy 60, get one free. We could try that model, and that applies to anywhere. It does not have to be SC, ENG, or Duke territory to do that. We have to investigate what co-op it is exactly to see what kind of benefits are there. There's I think 23 co-ops across the state. So there's a lot of them and they're each different. But that's something we could look into. SCE&G is offering a different kind of incentive to nonprofits for churches, schools, and municipalities. But we can look into other things for the co-ops.
Okay, that's the last question.